A quick warning, something serious is happening in the aftermath of the U.S. election, so I'm forced to talk politics for a moment. God knows I don't want to rehash the U.S. presidential election. As I repeatedly said, neither candidate met my personal standards of integrity or character to win my support. You're welcome to have your favorite. Heck, you're welcome to sleep with a blow-up doll of your favorite. I couldn't care less. I really mean that. I couldn't care less, so please don't send me an email telling me why your choice is the right one. But I can't ignore the bigger story. The campaign to delegitimize the election of Donald Trump. And that campaign is further eroding confidence in government. And that's the part I'm interested in. Ironically, throughout the campaign, especially in October, all the media talk was about Mr. Trump refusing to recognize the election results and the predicted violence of Trump supporters when Hillary was going to be elected. Of course, that didn't happen, and all that changed. The Love Trump's hate gang violently protested. Hillary refused to accept the results, first with her refusal to concede on election night, but later having her campaign join the recount demands led by Jill Stein. I don't think I'm going to be out in a limb saying that the media's reaction would be very different if it were Trump supporters protesting, breaking store windows, beating up Clinton supporters. And keep in mind, it were Democratic Party operatives caught on tape inciting violence at Trump rallies. But that was just phase one. Much more important things are happening now. I'm talking about something profound, and it doesn't matter which candidate you like. It's one thing to strongly oppose and dislike a candidate. That's a short-term problem. When that person loses or leaves office, that problem goes with them. But it's quite another to talk about the corruption of the system. And about half of America already thought the system was corrupt. A huge percentage of the opposition to Hillary Clinton came from people who believed the system was rigged in her favor, that there was a two-tiered justice system operating, that political interference had been prominent in the IRS, the FBI, and the Justice Department. And that's very dangerous, by the way, because the removal of Mrs. Clinton doesn't end the problem. Only getting rid of the system does. That's what we witnessed in the Brexit vote. The Leave side wasn't angry or disgusted with one individual in Europe. No, they wanted to get rid of the system, so they voted to leave. Now, look what's happening today. The Democrats' opposition to Donald Trump has morphed into an attack on the system. First off, they complained that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, and therefore members of the Electoral College should ignore the system and their obligation based on hundreds of years of precedent. Next up, in the arsenal to delegitimize Mr. Trump's election was to blame fake news for Hillary's loss. Of course, there's no explanation why fake news didn't impact people in New York or Los Angeles or Latino voters. An added irony is how the mainstream media continues to advance the Democratic Party's establishment regarding fake news. They're completely oblivious to the degree they engage in it, where innuendo and speculation masquerade as fact. That's not the exception. When it comes to political commentary, it's the norm. The last couple of weeks have brought the latest attempt to delegitimize Mr. Trump's election, the Russian hacking story. So far, the mainstream media, starting with the Washington Post, New York Times, have not presented a single piece of concrete evidence. All that's been presented, all we have are, in quotes, anonymous sources from the CIA. I'm going to revisit that later in the show, but for now, the part I find astounding is that even if we took these unsubstantiated allegations about Russia as fact, think what they're saying. They're saying in an effort to elect Donald Trump, the Russians released hacked emails through WikiLeaks that detailed the collusion of some members of the press with the Clinton campaign. Others revealed that the Democratic National Committee undermined Bernie Sanders' bid for the nomination. WikiLeaks emails also revealed that Hillary Clinton knowingly sent classified information from her private server, and as well as the damning revelations regarding money from some of the most heinous regimes in the world going into the Clinton Foundation in return for access to then Secretary of State Clinton. But we're supposed to focus on the unsubstantiated allegations that Russia hacked the Democrats in an effort to elect Donald Trump, not the fact that those allegations, or rather, not the fact of what was in the emails. I mean, it's incredible to note that none of the dirty tricks, dishonesty, unethical behavior have been disputed. And keep in mind, if there were no unethical, maybe even criminal behavior, there's not a story. There would be nothing of significance in the leaked emails. But yes, for the morally bankrupt establishment, Russia is the story. Here's the point. Half the population had already lost confidence in the system. Now, thanks to the concerted effort to delegitimize the results through, that whole litany of things I just described, the other half is now also railing against the system. That spells big trouble for the U.S. This isn't going away. On Monday, the Electoral College votes. Democrats have been trying to convince Electoral College voters to refuse to support Trump, thereby denying him the presidency. Well, that's a small probability. Can you imagine the consequences? There would be massive escalation of civil violence, possibly even the murder of some prominent politicians, and civil war would be just one step closer. As I said, a small probability, but the effort to delegitimize Trump's victory will erode the confidence in the system and further. And that will come at a price.